Hello there, this is Welsh ASMR 82. Hey, how you doing? So, second time lucky because I just recorded a long version of this video and I realised that apparently it isn't recording PowerPoint presentations, so I'm going to have to do it this way instead because none of the slides changed. So half an hour video and I don't know what to do with it, so I'm going to redo it. Probably a shorter version. I decided to do a what if scenario, and I've got loads of ideas of different scenarios, but if you've got any, drop me a comment. I love to explore what ifs. It's one of my favourite sort of topics. So what if the UK and Ireland had a combined football team? Who would play? I've gone with a 4-4-2 just because it gives us two strikers and two central midfielders, but if I were playing or if I were a manager, I would definitely go for a 4-3-3 or a 5-3-1. So, yeah, I've decided not to use England. Now, no hate, but basically, with the quality of the players, the massive population that England have, and the fact that the Premier League is the best league in the world, any team is just going to be mostly England with maybe one left back or, whoever from a different country. So that's a bit boring. So I've decided to make it more exciting. I've excluded England. So England, you get your own team. You're awesome. Congrats. But I've decided that I would include Wales, Scotland, Northern Ireland and Republic of Ireland. So UK and Ireland combined. Let's call it a Celtic team. Who would get in? Now I'm quite biased because I'm Welsh. So I do have a lot of Welshmen in the starting lineup, but actually I've got plenty of the others, particularly on the bench, where I've given myself 7 substitutes. And if you stick around right to the end, I've got an honourable mentions of players that I looked into but didn't end up including for one reason or the other. And then at the end I'll talk about other scenarios that I've thought of, and I'll invite you to write some comments to create some future videos, okay? Okay, I'll sort of do a quicker version than the ramble I did in the first version of this, and I'll think of maybe trying to get that to you some other way, although it'll be audio only. Someone asked me about Spotify, and maybe I'll look into that or something, we'll see. Okay. Show must go on. So, briefly, there aren't many good goalkeepers in this group of nations, unfortunately. So I'm going to say that the best of a bad bunch is Danny Ward for Leicester. He's a decent goalkeeper, but none of them are anywhere near, an absolute world-class goalkeeper. Danny Ward did for some time have the most clean sheets of any goalkeeper in the Premier League this season. But prior to that, he was leaking goals and has started again leaking goals for fun. So, he's up and down, but like I say, he's probably the best of a bad bunch. So, the Wales goalkeeper for Leicester, Danny Ward. Left back, for me, there's absolutely no argument. Andy Robinson, Liverpool, Scotland, gets in as the left back. Sensational player on his day. I know Liverpool are struggling this year, but regardless, he is a fantastic, class is permanent. So yeah, every day of the week he gets in at left back. For the two centre-backs, based on their performance at the World Cup being basically, we only had 3 decent players at the World Cup, and these two centre-backs were 2 of the 3. So Joe Rodon of Spurs, currently on loan in France to Rennes, makes it onto the bench. Makes it into the starting lineup, as does Chris Mepham of Bournemouth. So the 2 centre-backs are both Welsh. I couldn't really find anyone else in that position confidently. I did think about 1 or 2 other players, maybe 1 or 2 of the Irish boys, but yeah, I thought the fact that these 2 made it to the World Cup as well and actually were the best of our players at the World Cup, then I've decided to include them. And again, I'm really, really biased here. Connor Roberts for me is he's a fantastic player, fantastic engine, gets up the pitch. His final season for Swansea before going to Burnley, meant that he was one of our top scorers, because he would just get up the pitch and score. Very good at corners, runs up and down all day long, absolute workhorse, cracking lad as well, keen gardener. And yeah, he's for me, there wasn't another standout player right back, so he makes the team for me based on that as well. Not that I'm thinking he's world class or anything, he's not, but he's decent. If Burnley get promoted this season, he will be a first choice Premier League right back. I'm going to get hammered for this one, but bear with me. So Dan James he's hit and miss at club level. However, at international level, for the last 2 to 3 years, he has consistently, game in, game out, without question, been our best player, and everyone thinks so. It's not just me being crazy. He is enormously fast. I mean, scarily fast. I'd like to see him and Mbappe in a race. I think Mbappe would still win, but Dan James would give him a run for his money. He's that fast. He closes down the opposition goalkeeper and defenders. He wreaks havoc doing that, and if you put the ball over the top or ball to feet and he's allowed to run, he will take players on for fun. So yeah, for me, based on his Welsh form, he is left midfielder. So centre midfield, Ethan Ampadu was our best player at the World Cup. He is a Chelsea player, of course. He's good enough to get into the Chelsea team, but for some reason they don't really like to promote people from the academy that much. So he's on loan for his second season in Italy, this time with Spezia. Consistently one of their best players in a team that's going to be relegated this year, as he was for Venezia last season. And yeah, he gets constantly described by the Welsh media as a Rolls Royce. I think he's not going to be as good as Pirlo in the future, but he is of that ilk. He's sort of like he's the same sort of player, but just maybe the next rung down. And he is only getting better. So he's going to be our captain in the future. He is sensational, and he can play at centre-back as well. He started to add goals and assists to his game this season. He's an all-round midfielder, so Ethan Ampadu of Wales in the first midfield position. And the second one, Scott McTominay, Manchester United in Scotland. Really good player, the sort of nucleus of the team, can build a team around him. Again, similar to what I said about Ampadu, he's quite defensive. He's also played a centre-back, also can score goals, assist. I saw him play for Man United in the Europa League, I think it was, or the Conference Europa League. Score a goal, win the 94th minute to win the match. He's an all-round player. I think if we'd had him play for Wales in the World Cup next to Ampadu, we probably would have beaten Iran. But the fact that we didn't have anyone good enough in that central midfield with Joe Allen out injured was the reason that they just run through us. We didn't have anyone in the midfield to protect the back line. So Scott McTominay is a really, really good player. Again, not world class, but really solid, consistent, and reliable. World class, however, does come into this guy's future. Brennan Johnson, Nottingham Forest. He's already at, how old is he? 20, 21. A first choice Premier League starter. Can outrun anyone. Ball to feet is fantastic. He does that shot across the goalkeeper I love. He runs them from the right hand side of the box, shoots low across the goalkeeper, gets in the bottom left hand side. That's his trademark move, really difficult for the goalkeeper to save. Scored a brilliant one like that against, I think it was Southampton, and won in the cup a couple of days earlier. So back to some of his better form, and he's 21. In the next 4 years he's going to get even better. So I think he's the closest thing, particularly with his running and dribbling and ball carrying, that we're ever, in this generation, next generation coming through, is the closest I think we'll get to anywhere near having a Bale again for Wales. So no pressure, Brennan. But yeah, he's already a fantastic player. So I know he normally plays right wing, but for Wales he can play right midfield. And yeah, I think because of his star quality, he makes the team for me. Okay, last Welshman, I promise. Kiefer Moore, Bournemouth. For us, when he plays for Wales, I'm not sure about Bournemouth because they're in a bad run at the moment, but for Wales particularly, he isn't this big lunk up front who just headers the ball. He actually runs with the ball into the line, runs the lines, runs down the corners, holds the ball up, keeps attacks away from our half. He's brilliant at so many different things. He's not just a tall player. He's actually very skillful on the floor as well and can score goals. At international level, he's a goal scorer already, regularly. And yeah, for me, there aren't too many options up front across the four nations in this scenario. So for me, he is definitely amongst the best. And then I chose from Republic of Ireland and Cardiff City, Callum Robinson. I think he would combine in this combination with Kiefer Moore. You know, you've got the big and the little guy up front. He does a lot of running. He can also score goals. No defender likes a tricky, sort of speedy player running straight at them. He causes havoc. And yeah, I know Cardiff are having a terrible season, but he's a lot better than that, and they're quite lucky to have got him in the first place. So he's a Premier League player. And yeah, so he makes the team. So in closing, we do have a lot of Welshmen. So Welsh, Scottish, Welsh, Scottish, Welsh, Republic of Ireland. But let's have a look at the substitutes. So for the subs, Craig Gordon, definitely the next best goalkeeper. Still a little bit dodgy, just like Danny Ward and Wayne Hennessy. Thinking back to that goal against the Czech Republic in the Euros, where he was chipped from like halfway line. But good shot stopper, good at saving penalties, decent all-rounder. So yeah, I'd say he's on my subs bench, possibly going for a starting position. Tierney, very similar to at national level for Scotland. Andy Robinson's obviously their best player, and he plays in the same position, so what do you do about that? He could probably play at right back, and I've seen him play in a back three as the left-sided centre back as well. So yeah, I think he's a fantastic player, and if it weren't for Andy Robinson, he would be in the starting lineup. But you can't have two left backs, unfortunately. Doherty is one of the better Republic of Ireland players at the minute. He's had a rough time and lost a lot of confidence, but that's partly due to Jose Mourinho and, you know, the sort of negative tactics that Tottenham have had over the last couple of years. When he played for Wolves, he was very attacking, and I watched Spurs the other week, and he dribbled through some people in the box and nearly brought about a goal. So he's starting to get back to his best. So yeah, he definitely would make, maybe would even start at right back if he starts playing more consistently, whereas Connor Roberts is very consistent. Stephen Davis for Northern Ireland, for his engine in the midfield, his experience, his captaincy abilities, all-round play. He's, fantastic. I don't think he could start. He's quite old now, isn't he? He's in his late 30s. But, classy player, all-round, deserves to be in the squad. Then you've got McGinn of Aston Villa for Scotland. He doesn't make the starting lineup because I've chosen two fairly defensive central midfielders. If I had a three in midfield, he would definitely start. That's his position on the right of a three for Aston Villa. And yeah, he scores more goals. He's more attacking, more offensive. Another potential captain in the team as well. And yeah, he's a really good player, isn't he? He's classy, and but you might even get away playing him on the wing, but or on the left or the right hand side of a four in midfield. But for argument's sake, I've put him on the bench. But yeah, there's arguments for him to start, definitely. And then, of course, I'm going to pick Aaron Ramsey and Gareth Bale, aren't I? I'm Welsh, come on. I know they had a terrible World Cup, but that was in part due to just not, if it were in the summer, next summer, not last summer, they were both transitioning to new clubs and they didn't get as much playing time as they wanted. And also our tactics were all over the place, which didn't support these two at all. And I think we've got to the point where you can't play both of them. It's one or the other. So I think we'll maybe, in this next qualifying campaign for Wales particularly, start Ramsey and then bring Bale on. And Bale can play more central and leave people who can actually run and have got legs to stay on the wings, whereas Bale's passing ability and dead ball ability means if you stick him in the middle, you can, afford for him not to track back and not to run around with the ball. He's still sensational in that sense, and also he could play up front. He's very good in the air, very good from set pieces. Very good is an understatement. Sensational from set pieces. So yeah, he's one to keep in and around that team, even though he's not the player he obviously once was. Okay, as promised, I've created a list of honourable mentions, so I decided to put John Egan of Sheffield United from the Republic of Ireland in centre-back. He nearly made the team. They're having a good season this year. Nico Williams of Nottingham Forest and Wales can play on either left or right back, and I can see him, to be honest, moving up. He's more of a wing back, but I can see him becoming a wing in the next 5 years, and he's already, for Wales, absolutely sensational. Joe Allen, due to his experience in central midfield. Billy Gilmore, because of his potential and his skill and his passing ability for Scotland. I don't know, have Chelsea sold him now? Is he on loan? Is he at Norwich? I can't remember. Callum McGregor for Scotland and Celtic. He's a useful player. I watched him a couple of times in the Champions League this year. He's not too bad. Stuart Dallas as a sort of jack of all trades, literally play anywhere across the two back, the left back, right back, centre midfield, attacker midfield, right midfield. He is, someone who could easily slot in anywhere to help you out. And then finally Kyle Lafferty. I checked his stats earlier on for Kilmarnock. Already this season he scored like in every other game, so he's got 50% score rate. He's just fantastic. So the Northern Irishman makes it into my honourable mentions as well. Okay, am I crazy? Am I nuts? Am I spot on? Do you totally disagree with me? Am I biased? Who would you put? You don't have to stick to a 4-4-2. If you want to do a different formation, just write in the comments who you would pick. It's all for a bit of fun, so we'll just do it lightheartedly. And in terms of future videos, I've got loads of ideas. Some of the ones I thought about doing were a Soviet Union team, a Yugoslavia team. I thought about a combined USA, Canada, Mexico in celebration of the World Cup being in those three countries next, as a sort of all-star team to see who would get in. And another one I thought of was a Roman Empire team. So we're talking about Italy, France, Spain, Portugal, and Romania. That would be really, really interesting. But yeah, I could do lots of different scenarios. What would you like to see of the ones I've mentioned, or can you think of any interesting ones yourself? Like a Brazil-Argentina combined team. Who would make the starting lineup there? That would be quite an interesting one. An African All-Stars, etc., etc. So if you, it can be either sort of related to history, like Yugoslavia, or it can be related to geography, like Canada, USA, Mexico, or it could just be anything. It's all for a bit of fun. So drop me a little comment, and I'll consider doing a video in the future. But for the meantime, thank you so much for all your support. Happy New Year, everyone. And I look forward to speaking to you really soon.